Hey everyone, it's Jason from Strength Running, and I wanted to do something that I don't normally do, and that is review a piece of running gear. Now, let me tell you why I don't usually do this. Because who cares what I think? Seriously, it almost doesn't matter what I think about a pair of running shorts or a handheld water bottle or even a pair of shoes. But I think it is somewhat helpful to hear what a running coach has to say about a pair of running shoes in particular, which is what I'm going to review today. But before I do, I just want to be clear that whatever shoe you might be wearing, whatever shoe that you're thinking about getting, it has to feel good when you're out running in it. And that is the best advice on how to choose a pair of running shoes. If it feels good when you're out running, then it's a good pair of shoes for you. But different running shoes can have different purposes. So it is really helpful to think about shoes as training tools that help you accomplish a specific job. So just like a long run is a training tool that helps you gain endurance, and a squat is an exercise, a training tool that helps you develop strength, a shoe can be a training tool that helps you accomplish a specific goal in your training. So if it's a very minimalist pair of shoes, it might help you reinforce proper running form and develop some foot and lower leg strength. And if it's a very cushioned, structured shoe, then it might be a really nice shoe for a recovery run, for example. So shoes are training tools, and we have to make sure that we're using the right tool for the job that we have. So let's get started with our review today. With all of that said, I'm going to be reviewing these, the Under Armour Hovr Sonic. Now, full disclosure, these shoes were sent to me by Under Armour to review. They asked me to write a review for their blog. I sent in a review that wasn't super nice. I'm not sure if they're going to publish it, but I did want to give my thoughts on this shoe to the strength running audience. So let's dive in. Okay, first, how does this shoe look? I don't know about you, but I don't love the way that this shoe looks. I don't really like a black shoe with no other color or anything to it. They just look very generic. It looks like a cross-training shoe. It looks like a shoe that my grandfather might wear on his trip to Super Target. Not exactly the typical look for a pair of running shoes, but that clearly doesn't impact its function, so I don't really care too much about how it looks. Now, how does it feel? I did notice that the toe box up here was a little bit narrow, and I don't have wide feet. I don't need a wide toe box in any pair of shoes that I buy. So I was a little surprised that the toe box felt narrow for me. So if you are considering this shoe and you do have wide feet, you are definitely going to need the wide variety. Now, the other thing about this shoe is that Under Armour claims it has a light and responsive ride, and that is because of this special foam that they've made the sole out of. And I have to agree, it does feel very responsive. You feel like you have a nice bounce in your step when you're out running. I ran in this shoe for probably 10 to 14 runs over the course of 6 to 8 weeks or so. And I did a wide variety of runs, long runs, workouts, easy runs. I ran on the road, I ran on grass and crushed cinder surfaces. So I really got a good understanding of how this shoe performs. And I did like the way that it felt. It was fairly light. It's not extraordinarily heavy. I think the weight of it is 9.6 ounces. So it's a little bit on the heavy end, and frankly, a little bit more than I personally prefer for me. But I still liked it, and especially for those recovery runs, those runs where you're not trying to run fast, you're not running for a long time, and you're really just out there for an easy effort. These are good shoes for those kinds of days. But another aspect of the shoe that I didn't like was the overall stack height. Now, stack height is basically how high this shoe is off the ground. So you'll notice that it is fairly high, both in the heel and in the forefoot. I couldn't find information on the heel to toe drop, which is essentially the differential between the heel and the toe. It's the drop in height. So a lot of shoes will have a heel toe drop of, say, 4 millimeters all the way up to 12 millimeters. I'd say 4 to 6 is on the low end, 8 to 10 is average, 12 is a little bit on the high end. And I don't actually know what the heel toe drop is on this, but the stack height is high. And I've actually been running a majority of my mileage in Nike Frees. So this was a radical departure from the Nike Free. I was much higher off the ground, and that's going to make you feel less responsive. You don't feel like you have as much ground feel underneath you, and I don't prefer it personally. But for a lot of runners, it's what they're used to, and you're not going to notice that. For me, in particular, the heel height around here is almost too high. The heel felt bulky. It felt like my running was a little bit more uncoordinated in a shoe that had this much bulk underneath my foot. So I didn't love it, but at the same time, it was a fair shoe for those easy recovery runs. Now, a cool part to this shoe is that it comes with an embedded chip in the right shoe. And so there's a chip in here that connects to the Map My Run app. Under Armour owns both, clearly Under Armour, obviously, but they own the Map My Run brand. So the app, all the properties online, the Map My Run properties, are all Under Armour owned. So it's kind of a nice little synergy that they have between the two. But unfortunately, it never worked for me. I tried to connect it to the app in my phone, and they have this cool feature where you can go running without your phone, because I don't usually like to run with my phone, and it will still get all of the information tracking from the chip in the shoe. But unfortunately, that didn't work at all. It recorded the time that I was out running, and that's about it. It had some other metrics, but they were wildly off. So for an example, I went for 2 30-minute runs in these shoes, and the chip and the app mapped out that run as 0.02 miles with an average pace, I think, of 24.5 minutes per mile. So clearly that was a little slow for me, not accurate, and I didn't really like the fact that you had to bring the phone with you when they claimed you didn't. I tried to troubleshoot that, and I had a lot of problems with it. So, I think that's a ding on the shoe. It's not something that was too user-friendly for me. And not only that, but the information aside from pace and distance seemed really off. So for example, the cadence data, one run I went on said my cadence was 134 steps a minute. Now, I know from nearly 2 decades of experience that I run almost all the time at an easy pace cadence of about 170 to 174 steps per minute. So I know I'm definitely not having a cadence that low. So I was a little disappointed to see a metric that is fairly easy to track so wildly off base. And then I learned that if the app connectivity was working, you have to connect it manually before every run. And I'm a man of simplicity. That is not a feature that I would put up with long term, and so that is not something that I would use for this particular shoe. So the ultimate question is, who is this shoe good for? What kind of shoe is this for? Why should we use it? So if you're going to use this shoe at all, if you're going to buy this shoe, I think it's great for most types of training. I might reserve a lighter, less structured shoe for your faster days, but for long runs, for recovery runs, for when you need a little bit of extra support, I think a shoe like this is a really good option. But then, aside from that very kind of general use of the shoe, I'm not really sure who is being targeted with this shoe. I don't think it's going to appeal to the hardcore runner because the hardcore runner is not using the Map My Run app. They're probably using Strava or something that caters more to the hardcore runner. Not only that, but I think Under Armour is going to have a hard time marketing a very generic looking shoe that really looks like a cross-training shoe to hardcore runners. I know that when I buy a pair of shoes, I don't really care what it looks like, but I do want a fun shoe. And I think that if I had to pay for it, I wouldn't pay for a bland looking dark shoe like this. But at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to wear this shoe. I like it, but I don't love it. I think there's some real problems with the chip and the app and the connectivity. I think the toe box is a little bit too narrow. It's a little bit too bulky underfoot for me, but still I think it's a helpful shoe to rotate in the rotation for me, especially if I'm doing a majority of my running in Nike Frees. Once your long run gets up to be more than an hour and a half or so, me personally, need a little bit more support. So I will certainly be using these shoes for some of my longer runs and some of my easier runs. All right, guys, before I let you go, I want to know, have you run in this shoe? And what do you think of it? I would love to hear your comments underneath this video on YouTube. And also, I want to hear if you would like me to do more gear or shoe reviews. It's not something I do all the time, but I might do more video reviews because it's something that I can do fairly quickly. It gives you a really nice ability to see the product and kind of look at it in a different way than just a picture online. So let me know if you want me to do more gear reviews. I'll probably be doing those on Strength Running's YouTube channel, and I'd love to hear from you. It's not something I do all the time, like I mentioned, so I really just want to create stuff that you want to listen to. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a video, and I look forward to your comments.